we're going to be talking about Umbrella Academy Season 4. JJ, did you watch Umbrella Academy?
I remember I did like get through a lot of it, but I don't think like I watched season 4 itself. Like I think that I know what the story is, right, in general, but like season 4, I didn't see all that much about it on like promotion. Like it's like they dropped it. Like this might just be me famously living under a rock, but I feel like it was kind of a bloop, not a boom, like if like they gave it the oh it's running out of steam marketing, like what I mean. That makes sense.
I feel like the Umbrella Academy, because it's kind of like it was one of Netflix's premiere shows. Like the from the season 1, the fact that they put
Mm-hmm.
so much money into the marketing just proved
Yeah.
that, like, hey, this show is not going anywhere. So y'all might as well tune in.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all might as well tune
Mm-hmm.
in. So it felt like
Mm-hmm.
when season 4 was dropping, they didn't really need to promote it that much because it already has a fan base that's locked in and knows that season 4 is
Yeah,
coming out. So they're just going to tune in regardless. You know?
that's super fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So season 4 was the last season of the Umbrella Academy. And for this list, I was going to refrain from picking seasons of shows and focus more on new shows. However, the Umbrella Academy season 4 was so terrible that I just had to include it because everybody was talking about how much they didn't like it for weeks. For weeks upon weeks. And you know a show is bad when the actors who are in the show, while they're doing the promotion, are kind of like, well, you guys, maybe lower your expectations. Because if you don't have
Good heavens.
expectations, then you'll be very surprised by what you get. And that's not a good sign.
No, it is not.
No, it's not.
Like.
So we're gonna kind of just dive into, Umbrella Academy season 4. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so essentially, the first thing that changed in season 4 was the fact that it went from the typical 10 episodes a season to 6 episodes, right? And then another thing for Umbrella Academy, it looks like a lot of the I think the progress, or like, the character development that a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
characters had kind of like gained through the previous seasons went down a bit, namely for Klaus, because
Yeah.
he was dealing with addiction and he was very well known to be chaotic and a comedic relief character, but he had done a lot of personal growth in prior seasons, and then we see him
Mm-hmm.
kind of regress into very old habits. Luther and Diego were kind of reduced to comic relief during the season, and their arcs lacked a lot of depth and any meaningful progression, which is really disappointing because I like Diego as a character. I feel like he was one of my favorite characters on the show, and I was kind of iffy on Luther, but after season 2, I liked him a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like season 1, he wasn't my favorite because he was trying to kill, his
Yep.
now brother, but like, you know, he grew on me. He did grow on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like, also there was introductions of new characters into the show, and there was like new lore that was brought in, and it didn't really make any sense because this is one thing I don't like about final seasons of any kind of show is when they introduce new characters, or they introduce new
Yeah.
plot lines, or they make different people get together that have never really interacted throughout the show, and somehow they're dating now, and this, like, how did that happen? Where did that come from? Why are we here? What's going on? It just felt very strange and random. Like, why is Five dating his brother's wife? Like, what's going on here? Like,
It
huh?
feels like the sort of thing where like um they like start producing a season and then they're like, yeah, by the way, you're getting canceled. You're not getting the entire episode run. So they start to cram things even shorter than they would have otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
You
that
know?
is really what's happening. The show is still kind of like quirky and funny. I think one thing that I really did enjoy about Umbrella Academy is that every season is the end of the world and the apocalypse. And as a fan of Supernatural, I'm used to it already. It's like, come on, baby, let's go. Let's go, okay? But even though it's a very heavy kind of ending for a show, and it feels
Yeah.
like a very strong thing to end on thematically, the show never fails to alleviate the tension with some humor or like a dance number or anything. You know what I mean? Like even with like season 2, there was a lot going on in season 2, but they still managed to like keep it light and keep it funny in some places, and keep the tension, not too tough, like not too badly. But it felt like in season 4 we had that, but it wasn't the same. It's kind of like we were saying earlier how I know, like, because Umbrella Academy had been going on for 4 seasons, so I already know the
Hmm.
characters. We already understand the characters and their motivations and everything. But season 4 really felt like they kind of just said, "Oh, screw it," and just like kind of threw away a lot of the progress the characters made, and like you said, shoehorned a lot of things into the last season that didn't need to be there, but just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and just seeing what would stick. And at the
You
end
know
of the
what
day,
it
it
is?
what?
It's a senioritis season.
Yeah,
It's like they lost the heart, the passion, anything that comes with it, right?
yeah,
Like,
that is
well,
very true. Right. And I do feel like Five and Lila could have had a platonic relationship, but for them to get together, like for Five not to talk to Lila and like help her reconcile her relationship with Diego, I feel like that. Why didn't we do that instead? Like they're like having Five and Lila be together for 7 years doesn't make any sense.
no, it
Why?
doesn't.
I And I also don't like how they basically destroyed Five's character. Like he went from like someone who was funny and hilarious, like he was an old man trapped in like a 13-year-old's body, and he chose a woman over his family. Like and he didn't care about the apocalypse until the last 5 minutes of the show, which didn't make any sense.
Yeah, honestly, like that's just the sort of thing that I don't get. Like making characters out of character. Like I don't think it's that hard to do character writing, right? Like
Mm.
you give a character characterization over time, and also like you have an idea of what they are in your head. Like you're not like constantly remixing it. I don't think so. This might just be me, but I don't think it's all that difficult to manage.
Mm.
And yet like oftentimes like people sort of miss the mark, but also maybe that's me being like I know the character better than the writers.
It's it's definitely. I do see your point. I agree with you on that. Um, and I just can't stop thinking about how like sorry, I'm thinking about how the actors were like basically laughing in disbelief when they were thinking about the show and how people are just gonna like watch what they made, and also how like Reginald Hargreaves, we didn't really learn that much about his backstory or like how he wanted to get back together with his wife, but like you don't really learn much about them, and it's the final season, so like why wouldn't you wrap that up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm. Like even if it's just like you take half of an episode
Mm.
dedicated to the plot. Okay, good.
No, you're fine. Really, a lot of things went wrong in the show. Like uh, Allison and Ray, and then Klaus having like less screen time than before, and then Luther meeting Sloane. Like they had
Yep.
really good
Yep.
chemistry, and then like that didn't happen. And I'm gonna be very honest. Luther being in love with anyone but Allison, thank you, thank you, thank you for finally fixing that. Because I know the actors were like, oh, they're adopted, they're siblings, they're siblings. That's a brother and sister. They're siblings. Yes, 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 yes. I don't care if they're a different race. I don't care if they don't have the same genetic code. You are siblings by law. You're
It's the
siblings.
principle of the thing.
They're siblings. They're siblings. It's weird, bro.
They
If it's
grew up
weird,
together. Yeah, it is just weird.
listen, if it's weird, if it makes people go like, then you shouldn't do it. If people recoil
Hmm.
at the thought of your relationship, end it. For the
Unless it's a villain.
end it. Just end it, please. Oh my gosh. I think season 3 Luther was, I think, the best Luther. But then season 4, he was
Mm-hmm.
just super cringe. And
He got divorced. He started watching podcasts.
my gosh, it was just, it wasn't, I don't know. I feel like a lot of things were really, 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 really just like, really bad season 4, you
Yeah.
know? Also, I don't understand how Ben came to love someone he met like 7 minutes into, like, he loved them and it didn't make any sense. Like, he's not a selfish character, you know. I don't know. Let me stop talking. Let me stop talking.
Is this your bear rant? I feel
I'm
like
going
this
to
is your
be
bear rant.
I'm going to be so real with you. When I watched the Umbrella Academy season 1, I was kind of like, "Oh, Netflix actually cooked with this one. Original concept, new story, based off of a comic
Mm-hmm.
written by Gerard Way. Love Gerard Way. Love My Chemical Romance. Okay, I'm having fun. I like this, and I enjoyed some parts of it. Some parts I didn't really. Some parts I wasn't really about. You know what I mean? Luther and
Mm-hmm.
Allison to be
Mm-hmm.
one of them, but like we can move on from there. But like season 2, I feel like was better. But one thing about a show is that whenever you have to heighten the stakes, every single season, you will run into problems. And that is a finger in the monkey's paw. You know, you want to finish the story, you want to give it a good ending, you want to heighten the stakes, you want to keep the fans guessing, you want to keep it interesting, you want to keep it original, you want to keep it fresh. But eventually, you may run into problems. You may run into issues. You know, not every show is going to be
You're gonna
perfect.
jump the shark.
Yeah. And they jumped. Girl, they leaped. Okay.